Okay, thank you very much for having me here. And I call it dynamic because my presentation is not only not listed in the agenda, but I also skipped the first speaker to catch the plane. So thank you very much for that. And I put some of my positions not to praise myself, but to give you the impression that I hope I have a holistic view on what's going on in banking transformation in Western Europe, in States and Asia. Because I work not only for European Payment Council, so the owner of SEPA scheme, whenever someone makes transaction in European Union, they use our scheme to fulfill the transfer. But I also work with PwC, some startups, and I also work for vendor. So if you have any questions, I will speak very fast. Because as I said, I have to catch the plane. But if you have any questions, please interrupt during the presentation. I hope I will clear something if there is some misunderstanding, okay? I want to start with what is an improvement in payments, in banking, since the beginning of credit card. Let's start with this. So I want to show you the first fully operational external heart. It's 50 years old. It looked like that. Now it's in a backpack. Okay? When I ask for a movie to start, can we roll the movie? Excuse me, guys at the back. Can we play the movie? This is one of the first presentations of humanoid robots by Honda back in 2006. It was not only presented to several thousand people around, but also was global presentation out of this. Okay, and then another movie, please. Thank you. The movie. And this is just 10 years later. Should be? Okay. Just imagine how much work has been done to make this robot be much more stable. And just imagine how it can be used in finding people after some disasters, in taking some stuff to the mountains, whatever you can imagine. But the company, Boston Dynamics, was owned by Google. But even if these improvements, even with these achievements, they decided it's not a business for them. And they sold it to SoftBank. Then we have raw fish. In the 70s, there was almost 100% of US white Americans saying that raw fish is just for bears, that white people should not eat. Now sushi is pretty popular in States, and even more, they invest billions of dollars in the new ways of having proteins. And this is from yesterday. First, and guys, this is exactly for men. These are the first mice born without father. There is only mother, and the second mother. Okay, just check the news, it was released yesterday. There is no man needed anymore. Okay? And we come back to payments. This is a payment card. almost 60 years ago. And this is a new card. Wow, what an improvement. Metal, cool, but nothing special. And really, from my perspective, payments are really lagging behind. And some say, sorry for the small letters. I hope those presentations will be distributed so we will have an option to read it. I use this every time I join some conference. So this is my discussion with chatbot of LWhat. Okay, so I always ask for something before. So I say that I'm an Ukrainian banking forum, and I would like to demonstrate how one of the most famous fintech chatbots look like. Okay, so Rita, I would like to test your capabilities. And Rita answers me about the transfers to 26 countries, so really nothing relevant. Then I want to ask about the delays. And she said, well, talk to Life Agent. I can't help with this. Then I ask, what is 2 times 2? She doesn't know. Okay, so This is multi-hundred million investment. And the one thing, pretty easy, and the first to the customer, there is no other option, really easy option to talk to Revolut than this chatbot. It's horrible. It's horrible. I will come to this when I will speak what is the perspective for Ukraine. But just imagine, if one of the most famous startups, fintechs, now in Europe and going global, is so weak and so poor in terms of operations, what is the perspective for every one of you? Everyone here. I want to ask, is there anyone who doesn't know what is PSD2, Payment Services Directive? Are you shy or everybody knows? I assume everybody knows. So let's move forward. I will tell you what is the status at the moment, what's going on. So, of course, we as European Payment Council, we are child of PSD1. Now we have PSD2. The idea behind PSD2 was very, very deep and very fast transformation of banking, especially payment services. But I have to say that after several years of fight, it will be not fast, it will be not deep. This is one of the key takeaways from what is really PSD2. So of course there was a big rush some months, 2 years ago, especially in fintechs that wanted to propose solutions to customers, but it all changed during the last 3 years. Of course we have very, very strong instant payment adoption. Both SEPA, so European transfers, and non-SEPA, so the countries in EU that are not using euro, but are really, really moving into instant payments. So I transfer my money within seconds. Just at the beginning of the year, there was a tender in Hungary, and the technical recommendation was that there is 7 seconds since someone who wants to make a credit, someone who wants to make a transfer, starts the procedure till the recipient receives the money. So 7 seconds is the new benchmark for Hungary. Please take a look at how mobile payments and especially all the payment services look like in China. Of course, I don't want to say that WeChat Pay would be very popular in Ukraine, but this is something that I really look at. China is one of the countries that really drive payments in completely different manner than states. We used to look at states, but this is really like a third country in terms of the payment industry. Even without those new companies, or not so old, not so new like PayPal or Stripe or Square or wherever. This is really like a third world compared to China. Please have this in mind. And even some say companies like Revolut and others are the wow, like Bank N26. This is really not, there is no wow at the moment. So have this in mind. Again, I kindly ask you, take your souls, take your minds, Ukrainian minds, and think about if you can produce something really interesting. I will come to that later on. But what comes well? We will have presentation in a few minutes about open banking. But I want to tell you that this is one of the best what we have after PSD2 will be live in a few months. Open banking, something more broad, more towards platformization than just regulation. And this is fantastic because both big banks, small banks, fintechs, they are now looking into open banking. And I hope you will have a presentation about this, so I won't spend more minutes around open banking topic. I said that majority of fintechs started with B2C, but now majority of fintechs offer B2B. So banks were so tough, they were so powerful, that they not only could stop PSD2 implementation for several months, but also put fintechs in the really difficult position because investment had been already made, but there was no regulation, let's say 1 year ago, several months ago. So those companies had to switch from offering to the end user that they were unable to deliver, let's say 3 months ago, to support banks' operations. And this is good for banks who are here. This is extremely nice because there are a lot of solutions, a lot of ideas how to improve banking operations. And this is really exciting. we have this part of PSD2 that says about account aggregation. So if I allow my fintech or bank to access different accounts and show it on one plate, how my finance look like, this is also now much more into banking space than fintech because of some limitations that were put into regulation just at night before signing this one. So this is really something that is in favor of banks. What goes not so well? The first thing is that there are really not so many at the moment. Still, there are not so many use cases how to cooperate nice between bank and fintech. Of course, banks like BBVA, ING, Rabobank, dozens of banks in Western Europe, they are making a playground. They cooperate with thousands of fintechs. But in terms of implementation, it's just like blockchain. Everybody speaks about it, but there are not so many live users at the moment. There were, yes?
Do you have any monetary successful case for applying PSD2 and all this model stuff?
I will come to this in terms of England, in UK, okay? There are no. I answer now, no.
I don't.
Okay, yeah, that's nice that we agree on this. I will tell about this in a minute. Majority of acquisitions made by banks buying the fintech are failures. One of the most famous, I think, is in Poland, when the biggest bank in Poland and some countries around, PKO BP, bought Zencard, one of the most innovative loyalty platform. And since the acquisition in January 2017, there is really nothing going on. So neither the bank took the idea and made it like a product, nor the fintech is able to deliver anything more because of the structure, corporate structure they are belong now to, okay? And what is the worst? National standards are slowing down. So there is England. I will tell it in the, now it's the slide about UK. The country that was far, far, far before PSD2 was announced. So whole 2017 was a technology playground. All the banks that were in the project, it was like 17 banks if I recall correctly, they all opened their APIs and allowed technical tests, like everything that's not commercial. And since January 2018, it went live in business models. But there is really nothing. So this is strange, because I consider UK as one of the best markets to start such topics. But at the moment, it seems again, banks like Barclays and other big banks are pushing all this transformation internally. So they eating this transformation. They are transforming themselves, what is good for bank, but not so good for the market itself. The second example is more pan-European approach. So it's Berlin Group, where the big banks belong and some other organizations. And this might be the real technology standard behind PSD2. But again, we are just a few months away of PSD2 going live in terms of the banks should allow access to fintechs and other banks. But the Berlin Group is still not decided on how the pan-European standard should look like. Then we have some local ones. I think the fastest one is in France, so STED, and they took another approach than UK. So they start business already, cooperating very close with telcos, retailers. So I'm really looking forward to what France will bring in 2019. We had to be, as Poland, I am originated from Poland, we had to be first in terms of Polish API, but then it stopped. So the Polish Banking Association dropped the project. It was taken over by National Clearing House, but it's not moving so fast as before. And the Czech Republic that didn't announce anything, but they have each and every bank operating in Czech Republic, at least 5 the biggest banks, have APIs open. So you don't have to go to bank and negotiate how you connect to data. You can do it under the APIs that already provide. So this is really great. What's in it for Ukraine? From my perspective, is there any regulator, someone from regulatory office?
Yes, one.
Okay, great. So what I want to say that in Europe, it was legislation first, then business. In China, it's the other way. So first business, then regulation. So it's like a free market until someone spots, oh, Bitcoin, let's kill the BTCC and all other cryptocurrency exchanges. And I hope you are at the moment that you can be somewhere between. So make a regulation really adopted to what are the needs and of course what have to be done in terms of the security of the consumers. Usually this is the first point. But this is a great opportunity to make it like aligned, really aligned. Second topic for me is platformization. This is what will be described as open banking. You are really in time when you can, with the first point that I present, leapfrog what has been already done in other countries. Because I know that some of your banks have really fantastic front ends. But back office usually is not so nice. So some of your banks will have to change the infrastructure, the back office, the core systems. This is a great moment to look at the platformization and start it just like all the banks in Western Europe and in other countries have to invest, double invest, because they made changes like 5 years ago or something. They now have also to change, and the great example is Societe Generale, that invested millions of dollars in the new core, yet in one of the countries like Serbia, there are so many new topics, and they are also not in EU, please remember. They have so many brilliant applications to serve the customer, but the CIOs and COOs said, we cannot allow you to access core because you overload it with those data. Why do you need those data? Please, just short information, nothing else. Okay, so this is something that you really can take as an advantage. Leapfrog the competition. And I mean not Ukrainian, the European one. Follow your customers in EU. This is the idea that I had once when I met with banks in Turkey and banks in also Ukraine, that there is a strong move of people from Turkey and Ukraine to EU. And all those people have an account in the country that they left. But when they arrive to Germany, Poland, whatever, they are pushed by the local banks, if there is an option for this, of course, to start the account with the other bank. And with the platformization, with the services that can be used country by country, just take a picture of Uber, who opened the entities everywhere on the really same manner. We have the passportization of the banking services in Europe. Once any bank of your banks opens the entity in EU, you can really, as a country, I mean country, not the one bank, you can really follow your customers, your citizens, bring more money back to Ukraine in terms of the services, in terms of everything. And what is great about Ukraine, you are so big that internally, if you invent something and it's go wide and it's go wild, everybody uses it. It's enough to make money on this project. It's enough internally, locally. But the more tests you do internally, the easier it will be to go abroad. So I will encourage you during this short presentation, I will finish in a minute, think out of the Ukraine. Ukraine is an easy market. You will do it in year, in two. But think about other countries and conquer other geographies. I took it from a slide that I used on another presentation to show you what a platform is. This topic is completely not about platform, this one, but there are two logos that I want to mention, and this is Facebook and MySpace. Back in 2006, back in 2007, Facebook was really struggling to catch up to MySpace. That was the biggest network globally. Do you remember MySpace? Who used MySpace? Okay, thank you for that. Okay, and what happened in 2007, of course, not counting iPhone going live. So in 2007, Facebook decided to something not expected. they decided to open. So they allowed partners, allowed competitors, allowed everyone to access their data, okay, to make more services, to put more information, to be more relevant. And check it out, how it changed the curve of the customer acquisition at Facebook. 2007, when they announced and they allowed, and partners and developers and all the people around started to make new services on Facebook, really changed the perspective, especially for MySpace. And please remember, industry is not a barrier. So we have an example that competition into payment, into banking, comes out of our business. Okay? And for the big companies like Amazon, like Tencent, and Uber, it's much easier to offer new services to the customers that they already have than for the bank to extend the portfolio. Okay? But you have to be prepared for this. And I mean Western countries and Chinese market. I'm not sure how many of you use AliExpress, but this is one of the examples. How do they grow? This is not a post office meeting, but the regulation that allows Chinese companies to put the delivery box, anything they send, really for free into international network, will change the way we buy in the next 2 years. But as I said, it's not for today.